Rough Riders don't take no shit. Men don't take no shorts. We don't take no shorts. When two Titans clash, it just could go down wherever, man. Blocks talk about, man, you know, the tour bus was surrounded. That was me and my dudes, man, that had the guns, man, that was like, listen, man, you know what I mean? We are going to air this tour bus out, man. The only reason why we did it, man, is we got the call from Zeno. Zeno was like, nah, don't do it.
Ain't got a moment. When they see you down, there's no love and all that.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Bounce Back Podcast. I'm your host, B. Luke. I got a special guest with me today, author. He's helping other authors. He's been involved with some infamous Boston situations. He could tell it better than me though, so why don't you tell the people your name, where you're from, and a little bit about yourself.
Boston's finest 8, man, from Belnel Road. Grew up in the city of Boston, born and raised. And you know, of course, man, I've done the street shit, been around the block, here to tell a little bit about what I've been through.
Why did you feel it was important to come up here today?
Well, you know, I feel like it's important to tell my story, period. Just not for the people that lived it, man, but for the youth that's coming up. We lived a life of just the craziness, man, the destruction in the street. I don't know about now, man, but when my time, it was like 140 murders to 110, man. So it's just a different atmosphere. So, you know, we're trying to give the little youth right now some guidance, man, because they're the future and they're going to take off.
Talk a little bit about what you've been doing as an author.
I'm on my 4th book, man. The first 2, Wrong-Turn Writing, Source Information, basically detailed the life story I lived, everything I went through, man, from living in the streets, touring with Benzino in the Source magazine to, you know, prison, man. But that's on my 3rd book. And then I wrote 2 erotic short books, you know, story books for the ladies, man, something to, you know, spice up the bedroom.
Paint the picture of Boston in the era that you were coming up in.
I lived in a time where it was dangerous throughout the city, man. Nowhere was safe. The murder rate was high. The crime rate was high. Everybody was out in the streets. Like now, you know, you can walk around and you don't really see nobody. But just imagine hundreds of people, man, everywhere flooded throughout the streets and gangs on every street corner. So it was a treacherous time, but it was something that was fun for us at the moment. I ended up getting incarcerated at 2002. So my street legacy was cut short from there. But, you know, I lived a life before then.
Talk a little bit about what the home life was like growing up.
Unfortunately, my father wasn't really in the picture, but I had a step-pops that was around, so the structure was there. I just wanted to live the lifestyle of a thug, man. You know, I just always was bad since I was a youth.
What do you think drew you to that lifestyle?
I was bad since birth. I was just always doing something extra. So, you know, I've always edged to the bad side. So
Talk about the early years as a student.
I was the type that always did well in class, but I was just always defiant. I went to Mission High. I got kicked out of Mission High. I went to Copley. And eventually, you know, that didn't work out, you know what I mean? So
Did you first start getting in trouble at school or with the law?
I think my first case was at 13 years old.
Okay, so talk about that. That's pretty young.
Assault and battery cases. I had a lot of, you know, built up anger, so I would just walk up on people and just, you know, pound them out.
Did you end up graduating high school?
Yes.
Streets, DYS, or?
Did it on the streets, man, you know, through ABCD, but I was in Copley, you know, and I was on my final year. Then, you know, things happen, man. You know, what it is I treated the streets as my daily Bible, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I wanted every day, so that's what I chased and ran after.
That's funny you said ABCD. I went to ABCD myself, 178 Tremont Street right there. When do you first start getting like locked up?
I think I was on probation all the way until I ended up catching the case that sent me upstate.
Source of information, it starts with you like fresh home off of that bid.
Right.
Correct? So why don't you walk me through the events that lead up to you going upstate for the first time?
In Wrong-Turn Right, my first book, it tells about 16, 17, around like 16, we got into a gang war. And it was like every day on site. Any day you was gonna put your life on the line. By 17, I had already caught a case for someone selling drugs on my block. And, you know, I ended up robbing them and then try to shoot at them and then I ended up getting told on, but that's right before my murder case. I was awaiting trial for attempted murder. You know, I'm fresh, probably like 18 years old, just turning 18. So I sat a year and I ended up doing like 15 months. So it was something that I ended up, you know, copping out to really quick and just doing my time. So I ended up going upstate. I went to Concord, of course, for at that time, that was like the processing center. And from there I got shipped. I got put in a hole for 3 months, and then from there I went to OCC, and I ended up wrapping up from OCC.
What kind of things got you in the hole for 3 months?
You know, I was defined. I used to always just run the walls, man. They couldn't keep me in my cell, so if they let me go, I go to the chow hall. You got 15 minutes. I come back 45 minutes late. So I had a CEO that would just couldn't do nothing. So he just like, listen, keep it up. He ended up putting a shank in my room.
Wow, planted it.
Yeah, he planted it in the room, and then my cellie ended up saying it was mine. That was the crazy part.
So how are you feeling when you're sitting in the hole on some BS like that? Like just charge it to the game, or are you mad? Are you angry?
So, you know, at the time I was just like, I was used to being in the hole. Ever since I first came in, I was just going back and forth to the hole. I actually got kicked out of Nashua Street and sent to Plymouth. So that's where I copped out and went upstate. But I was used to being in the hole. I was fine with it until homicide came and investigated me in there. So when they came and interrogated me, then that kind of changed the dynamics of my bid. They was telling me I was going to get indicted in a few months. They kind of had the story that they used at trial. I already knew something was funny, man. I knew somebody was telling, you know what I mean? So, but again, man, you know, I just kept it solid and was just like, listen, if you're going to do something, do it, man. I don't think you got anything. I talked shit to them.
Yeah.
And, you know, I did my time and was released.
I mean, they weren't just pretty much telling you just to be nice guys. Were they trying to get information out of you?
Of course, man. You know, listen, man, police don't never talk to you unless they want something from you. You know what I mean? Never are the police talking to you to be your friend, and never can you really talk to them and help your situation out.
Yeah.
So it's like best not to talk to them, you know what I mean? Because if you talk to the police, it's like they're not there to help you. Anything you say, it can and will be used against you. You see what I'm saying? So you already know what time it is, and that wasn't the first time me being interrogated. So, you know.
Yeah. It's never, what you say is never going to be used for you. I tell you that.
Right,
You could tell
course.
them you didn't do it 100 times.
It doesn't matter. Listen, they're either going to charge you or they're not. They either have the evidence on you or not. So it's like you telling them what you did and how you didn't do it and all that. All you doing is basically cutting your timeline on what they can use in court. So if you're like, no, I didn't do that, and then you mention somewhere, they're going to investigate that spot. So it's better not just to say anything.
So after cussing them out, you get back to your cell, you're in the hole. Now what's going through your mind?
So I go back to my cell. When I get back to my cell's trashed. They took all the envelopes from all of my comrades that had written me. So, you know, they was trying to make a connection, trying to see if they could scare me to write one of my friends and basically incriminate myself and all that. But at the end of the day, I'm like, you don't have anything. I wrap up soon, and I'll see you when I wrap up. You know what I mean? So, and that's what happened.
That's how it went down?
So my case happened in 1994. I didn't get indicted to 2002. So they came and see me in 95. But, you know, it was like, okay, well, do what you got to do.
You get out, you're still in the streets.
So,
I remember
yeah.
right in the beginning of the book, the first thing you did was you was looking for one of them things.
At that time, it was on site, and it was like, I'd rather protect myself than be caught with it.
Yeah.
I've always had that mind state, like, you know, I'm not going to let someone else take me out. So, you know, I always protected myself. So I came out, and I needed protection. So the first thing I did was grab up a Mac 380. So that was... You know, and I couldn't find a handgun, so you know, I rode around with that for a while. But you know, like I said, it could happen at daytime, it can happen at nighttime, it can happen at the club, it could at any given time, and it could be happened with somebody you didn't have no problems with or never met before.
Right, and there's no appeals process for when you're gone, you're gone. You know what I mean? You can appeal a case or something like that, but if you're gone and you're dead, there's no appealing that. You know, so
I lost so many people to the street. I'm talking about probably close to 100 people I know that, you know, were in the street that I built bonds with, whether in the street or in the prison. And at the end of the day, the game's a losing one. We was playing for keeps, but now that we're older, I see that it was all foolishness. I see that, you know, we could have been doing great things. We was hustlers, and we had the minds of corporate bosses, but we just didn't have the right direction to lead us in that place. You know, we had the money from all the drugs that we made, but all of that went back into lawyers in prison and canteen food. So instead of us just coming together collectively and building so that we can really make something and, own blocks and own half of Boston. We went the wrong route and we didn't own anything. We sat in jail. We rotted our lives away, so that's part of the game that they don't tell you about.
We didn't have old, people telling their story and telling us the real side of things and how your family is, gonna die when you're away. Your girl's gonna leave you. Your friend, she's gonna leave you for your friend or whatever it may be. We don't hear all that. We didn't have the internet back then. We just had the what you see from glorification, music, movie, TVs, or even just people around the way. Is this around the time where you start hanging out with Benzino? How does that connection come to place?
I think around 95, Frank's place became really popular. Well, it was popular before that. That was like, the Corbett hangout. That's where like everybody in the town hung out, but it wasn't anybody that can go in there, So we ended up forming bonds, and that's really where the Wise Guy and Made Men came out about, and that's where everybody used to come together.
So is this right after like the was Almighty RSO era?
Right. So at the time, Almighty RSO basically, man, came out in the '80s, and they came and they took the town by storm. They were the elite rap group all the way down until they broke it down to Made Men. Yeah. Some people came and went, but at the core, they represented Boston. You know what I mean? So
wasn't there a thing too with Ruthless Records? Weren't they trying to, before Eazy-E had passed away? That's something I saw that they were trying to get.
Benzino's been connected with everybody in the industry, you know what I mean? So they had something, but that's something you're gonna have to ask him. But yeah.
Okay, that's just something I thought I
listen, they definitely had something. Dope, They definitely had something with Ruthless Records, as well as Flavor Unit. They were signed to Flavor Unit. Zeno and them, man, listen, they didn't really have to be signed to anybody. They was the Source magazine. They was basically the biggest entity in hip hop. So everybody from all the superstars came to the Source. So at any time they could have just started a label and picked from the biggest of the biggest. Right. So
speaking of the Source magazine, the book Source of Information, that font looks like the magazine font. Is there a connection there?
I don't really speak about too much about the Source in the book, man. Okay. But the times I was there from the Source Awards and of course hanging with my boys and stuff, but Source, it's just have to do, promotion, and then that's the way, it goes. But yeah, I was part of everything, so of course I'm gonna speak on it.
What comes first? Is it the Miami Terror Squad thing, or is it the Rough Riders?
The Fat Joe shit was way before. We was traveling to Miami. We was probably out there 30 deep. It's out there with Little J and Rap A Lot. All the crews out there. That's when Miami used to be crazy, where all the crews is out there. Man, everybody, Puff, Suge. If you was a rapper, you had to be to the How Can I Be Down.
Eventually, what happens? A brawl breaks out?
You're supposed to get one song. So we went on the stage, everybody got one song. Fat Joe did a song, and then he was like, okay, I got another song, and he's trying to pull up Method Man's little brother. So he's like, come on up. He's like, wait a second, that's it. Zito stepped in, everybody else swarmed in, and that's what it was, man. We kicked everybody off stage, and, Zito told the DJ, you got 5 minutes to set everything back up. We had a great time and performed and, tore up the club.
I read in the book somewhere that a female had walked by or something and said, oh, there goes them Boston guys messing things up. And you said, oh, she didn't know, but like we thrived off of that.
Nah, so that was like, I think the next day or the day or a little bit later on, and we was out there in front of the hotel 20, 30 deep, man, and she just walked by with her girls like, oh, that's them Boston dudes. But, people used to take that as, oh, that's ignorant. We used to be like, okay, yeah, listen, we're going to represent wherever we go, and that's basically what we did. We wasn't trying to be extra or do anything outside of our character. We just didn't take shit. So no matter where we went, man, whether we was together or alone, that's how we just operated as people, man. If we're together as a unit, one go down, man, we all go in, man, you know what I mean? So, yeah, it was just, we do the shit how we do it in Boston at that time.
Yeah. Why do you think it was important to move as a unit, as it seems like you guys did?
I think that's how you're gonna win anyway. You know, no matter what you do, is if you're doing music, if you're doing movies, if you're doing whatever, man, you're gonna have to collaborate. You can't do it on your own, and you can't do it without the city's support. So, you know, it has to come together. You have to be. You can't just say, "Oh, that guy's doing something that's not my crew, so I didn't like it." You know, we went together probably like 10 different crews. You know what I mean? And we all got together. Some of them didn't like each other and had war with each other on the street. But for the bigger cause and for coming together to make sure that we can try to get our hoods out the game, everybody chilled and everybody respected each other and had each other's back.
It's playoff time around Boston. We know a thing or two about that. The Celtics look like they're on the way to at least another finals. So, speaking about the Celtics, there's an infamous moment in Boston history with an ex-Celtic player by the name of Paul Pierce. Some things went down.
What people don't know, it started the night before. So we got into it with Paul Pierce at the Cosmopolitan. Me and two of my dudes and the young lady that he went and talked to the next day. Words were exchanged, but it wasn't nothing, man. We was used to just getting into shit every day in the hood. So the next day, I can't really speak on what popped off on the fight because I wasn't there. But I was coming into the club at the time. So, you know, I just see one of my dudes getting into it. So, of course, man, I jump into it, man. It's like everybody jumps into it, you know what I mean? I ended up losing my ring. Paul Pierce ended up losing his ring. I stopped at that moment and said, wait a second, let me grab my jewelry, man. But, you know, at that time when he went to the dance floor, you have to understand, you know, we always rolled around like 30 deep. And it wasn't just us. It was just, you know, everybody that grew up in Boston, man, you know, so... You know, it was an unfortunate situation. Really, nobody knew who he was, man, at the time, until the lights went on. But I will say the people who got charged for it, man, got wrongly accused because the guy who got charged for a stabbing never had a knife. You know what I mean? And that's like well known in Boston, man, you know. But I mean, like I said, it was an unfortunate situation. I believe Batty was there with him, man. He ran off, man, you know what I mean? So it was just him by himself, but he held his own, man. You know what I mean? Like, I can't say that he was no punk, man. You know what I mean? He threw blow for blow, man. You know what I mean? And he held his own, man. He never went down. So, you know, after that, he became a superstar, man, after that, man. So, you know, I mean, people love him, man. Even the people that was involved in it, they still love him, man. You know, Boston pride, like, again, you know, if everybody knew who it was, I'm sure it would have never went down like that because, you know, people love the Celtics and people love the Patriots, man. But, you know, unfortunately, Boston has a bad history with the Stars. So, you know what I mean?
You said wrongly accused. What ends up happening with all of the accused? Do they plead out? Do they go to trial?
Two of my boys went to trial, and one was, I think, given a 7 to 10. The other one was given, I think, 2.5. But again, like, it was a simple fight that just got out of hand. At the time, man, it wasn't their fault, man. I think that Paul Pierce, you know, mainly played a big part in how it went down. You know what I mean? Again, I wasn't there, but from what I hear, man, you know, he played a big part in how it went down and, you know, him being disrespectful. It wasn't someone else, like, just coming off to him on some rah-rah shit, you know what I mean? Like, that's how we was every day, though. When you're in a situation where you're in a club, high celebrity person, man, in a place that he probably shouldn't have been, man, you know, it's your town. Once you come and play here, we embrace everybody, you know what I mean? So if you're a Bostonian, you're free to go wherever you want, man, and you're loved pretty much, man, especially with the team players. But again, no one knew who he was, and he was, you know, having problems with someone who was well known in the hood, man, and someone that, you know, everybody would go back for.
What is his part in, like, the conviction of these guys? Does he go to court? What happens there?
I really didn't go to none of the trials and all that, man. From what I heard, man, I can't say that Paul Pierce is a snitch.
Okay.
I can't say that he snitched on anybody. Again, man, you know, of course, a lot of things was probably said initially. I don't know, you know what I mean? But I definitely know that, you know, in the end, he was told the real story. He knew from the jump that no one did, you know, the people that was being accused wasn't him. And, you know, I can't say I didn't go to trial, man. I didn't see anything, but, hey, I can't call him a snitch either.
And nobody else was calling him that, to your knowledge? Or were...
Hey, man, listen, people say a lot of things in the streets, man. You know what I mean? Like, But without paperwork, man, and if you're official, man, without paperwork, you really don't, go by it, man. But from the people that are involved and all that, man, they have no animosity with them. They don't call him a snitch.
Okay.
So if they don't call him a snitch, I'm not gonna call him a snitch.
That's what I was more asking too about the people involved, what they were saying. Yeah, the street. I mean, the streets always
right,
talk.
Man. So I like I said, man, I can't say nothing bad about him, man. Other than, man, he won a chip for the Celtics against my team, the Lakers, man. But other than that, man, hey, man, more power to him, man. He's a legend.
Absolute salute to Paul Pierce, but he could have left town first chance he had or whatever, but he chose to stick it out. And then especially towards the end where we were terrible, we went on that super crazy loser streak, and then Garnett and Ray Allen came over, and the rest was history from there. We won the one chip. But talk about, how do you become a Lakers fan being from Boston?
Actually, man, I used to rock with, Larry Bird, man, and I used to be a stone cold, man, Celtics fan, man, you know what I mean? But a lot of things happen over time, man, where, people falling out, man, you know what I mean? And certain things that I'm just not a wit, man. So, Boston, man, can go to one of two ways, man. You see what I'm saying? Like, when you live here, you get used to it. But everybody that comes here be like, listen, this isn't the place to play. You see what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's what you make out of it, man. Me personally, I didn't like some of the things about Boston stood for, man. So, I was always traveling with the Lakers, and I'm Kobe. I'm a Shaq fan first, man. Shaq went over there, man. I went with Shaq, and it's been a history.
Yeah, salute to Shaq, Kobe. Rest in peace to Kobe, Gigi.
Absolutely.
That was just like a horrible, horrible thing, man. I remember seeing that on the news and just was so surprised, so young, full of life. I mean, how did you feel about that, being such a big Kobe fan?
Kobe's, man, like my all-time favorite player, man. So, of course, man, I wanted greatness from him, man, like he's been doing all of his life, man. So I was ready for his next, chapter in life, man. So, with him and his daughter going, man, just a sad moment in time, man, something that, we're all gonna remember, man, So there's another moment in Boston history that kind of gets brought up a lot. The Ruff Riders. So why don't you talk a little bit about that? How does that happen? Was it something previous, leading up to it, like the Paul Pierce situation? I mean, of course, man, there's always something leading up to it, man. I think they told half-truths, man, It had something to do with, man, the top echelon over there, man, and, his peoples, man. But at the end of the day, they felt something was wrong, but we knew nothing was wrong, you know what I mean? And things got out of hand, and it was always brewing, man, state to state, man. But when it just came to Boston, man, it erupted, man.
So just talk about that. What was the situation? It was a tour they went on together, Made Men, Ruff Riders. What was the whole situation?
So you have to understand first, man, Zeno, man, motherfuckers be talking shit about him, man, but he was on tour with, man, two of the probably top acts, man, in the world at that time, in the hip hop scene at least, man. You have it was a great time in hip hop where all the big stars and the big crews were coming out. You had Master P, you had No Limit Ruff Riders, you had Jay-Z, man, you had Rap A Lot, man. So you had a lot of different crews, and like everybody for the most part, were cool with each other. It's just something that brewed over, and it just kept on going on until when it got to Boston. But we're sitting at that day, we're sitting on backstage probably like 25 deep, 30 deep, man. Just watching the shows, man. And my crew, man, because I'm from Nell, man, so we kind of broke off for a little bit, man, to go to the bathroom. The plan was just to go to the hotel. Something happened, man, that made them alter the course, man, but it was never no drama shit, you know what I mean? But, when it got there, it got crazy.
Do you think it was a coincidence that it happened in Boston, of all the cities on the tour?
I just think that it just happens, man, when it happens, man. You know what I mean? No matter where it's, if you got real dudes and they real, man, you know what I mean? Ruff Riders don't take no shit, man, don't take no shorts. We don't take no shorts, man, you know what I mean? So it's just something, man, when two motherfucking titans clash, it just could go down wherever, man. At the end of the day, man, it broke off, man, and we saw the aftermath, you know what I mean? So we was like, listen, it's home turf. We called in the guns. When the locks talk about, man, the tour bus was surrounded, that was me and my dudes, man.
So strong, he was strong.
And
They had to
Boston,
pull the tour buses up to the precinct and get us out of there because he had the hotel surrounded.
that had the guns, man, that was like, listen, man, you know what I mean? We are gonna air this motherfucking tour bus out, man. The only reason why we did it, man, is we got the call from Zeno. Zeno was like, nah, don't do it. At the time, man, we didn't really have nothing, involvement in it, but those are our dudes. They, we're all family. So, you hurt one, we ready for everybody. You know what I mean? So.
And why was Zeno the person that y'all listened to? Because somebody could say something, but a lot of times people just gonna do what they want to do.
At the end of the day, man, you have to understand, motherfuckers talk shit about Zeno, but there's probably like 15, 20 crews at the time that respected him. You see what I'm saying? You had the wise guys, man, and everybody talks about, man, how the police changed, the atmosphere. Actually, the wise guys came in and it cut Boston crime in probably by 2/3. You know what I mean? Because everybody came together for a cause. Everybody was like, listen, we got millions on the deck, man. At the time, Source was worth, man, millions upon millions, tens of millions. So you have to understand, when you see that type of money in front of you and you see a award show and you see all the stars coming to, basically Boston, man, to check in, man, you see what I'm saying? To where if they want to do something, you got to respect that.
Benzino's, he's been in kind of a few things lately. Eminem, Drink Chips interview. What's your take on that?
At the end of the day, I can only speak about what that man's done for me, man, and and the things I can appreciate. You see what I'm saying? So I can say I spent like 10 days in Beverly Hills hotel on him. You see what I'm saying? I could say I took, bunch of trips on him and never had to pay a dime, man. And this is the time that I'm sitting on hundreds of thousands. So it's like the respect for me is there because he gave me something. And anybody who gives me anything, you're supposed to appreciate it. You know what I mean? Now, what a person does in his personal life or whatever else, I'm not there to speak on it. And especially if I don't see the work, that's what it is.
So how far along was the tour at that point where that happened? Was there more shows after? Did people get along? Do you remember?
Oh, it's over after that.
It was a wrap?
It was a wrap.
Was it supposed to be more dates and everything?
I think there was supposed to be more dates, but that was definitely a wrap after that. It was over, you know what I mean? That made national headlines, man, because people look at the stabbings that was on our side, but it was, people got injured on both sides. People went to the hospital on both sides. You see what I'm saying? So, like I said, when Titans clash, shit just happens, man. But them motherfuckers always been, solid on that side, man. So I can't take nothing away from them. You know what I mean? But, they caught and slipping, man. But it happens.
Do you think, like, since then, no one from Boston has really came out, like, since Benzino? You think that incident had, like, something to do with that? You think people look at Boston like, I don't know, maybe that's trouble over there?
Absolutely not, man.
No?
I think that it's more or less Boston doesn't stick with each other.
Okay.
I think that, man, we have the resources, the money, the talent. It's that, man, Boston is, individually gang set, man. It's always been that way where every corner is like a different gang. So it's like, whereas you go into another city, you might have a whole Mattapan, Dorchester, Roxbury just be one hood. You see what I'm saying? So you gain more attention, you gain more friends, man, you gain more of a following. In Boston, it's like, I'm not just gonna listen to shit because it ain't our shit. And you're never gonna win that way. You gotta come together, man, and show that, man, we got the numbers in the industry. You know what I mean? We got the talent.
What's the way to come together? How do you see that happening? Or do you not see it happening? There's too much history.
I think it's starting, man, because the violence in Boston has come down drastically. You know what I mean? And that's where it starts, man. Once the violence stops, you can start building friendships. And once you start building friendships, you can start making moves. You know what I mean? So you have to give credit, man, to Boston government too, man, for doing things to crack it down, man. Like I said, in our time, man, it was 140 murders. Of course, man, it wasn't that many police force, man, you know what I mean? But I think the policing back then kind of built us to understand things, man. They did their job. We didn't think they did their job, but at the end of the day, all of us ended up locked up.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So they ended up doing their job. You see what I'm saying? But we came out with the mind different mind state of, you know what, we're not going to do the same thing as we went in.
So on a national level, what's something about Boston that I guess most people might not know?
So everybody think it's just white. And everybody thinks, man, you know, the accent and all that, man. But as you see, man, I don't have one in. And listen, man, where I come from, it was divided all my life, man. You know what I mean? You have to understand, Mattapan, Roxbury, and Dorchester, like, that was always just us, man. You see what I'm saying? And we couldn't move or do anything without being looked at, man, in a negative manner. Everything outside of that was like, okay, that's Boston. Anything inside of that was like, that's a threat. And people don't understand. When you say 144 murders or 110 murders, man, you're talking about in a 4.3 mile radius. So it's like, for that to happen in that small of for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, man, from one side to the other, you're talking about straight chaos.
And that's, most of those are not happening all throughout Boston. Most of those takes place in certain areas of the city.
In that time, it was almost specifically right there. You see what I'm saying? You had, you know, South End, man. You had respected people in South End. You had, you know, a few crews in Mass Ave that were respected, man. You know, but for the most part, when you talked about violence in Boston, it was Roxbury, Dorchester, and Mattapan, and you know, it was a war zone at my time.
How did you guys feel about the whole Whitey Bulger thing at the time, or was that something you didn't even think about? Or I mean, did that ever overlap?
We didn't really even think about Whitey Bulger. It was like, man, we were gangsters in our own sense. It was like, man, I don't care what people like. First of all, we didn't. I'm not to say, you know, I was hearing all the things that was Whitey Bulger was doing. I never even heard about what he was doing. But at the same time, it was like, listen, man, a motherfucker ain't coming into the hood saying shit or doing shit, man. So it was like that whatever that was outside of the world, we had our own world. And everything outside of Roxbury, that was just a whole different part of Boston, man.
Bring it back to like a national level. What's one thing that you could want to say to put out there about Boston and really kind of put the message through it and let them understand about Boston?
I mean, listen, man, we just like everybody else, man. You know what I mean? We cool motherfuckers, man. And everybody, man, when they really come in contact with us, they be like, listen, those are people that I can really trust and understand and deal with. You know what I mean? So it's just about where you are as a man and what you want to be, man. You know what I mean? And we're stand-up people, man, for the most part, man. Of course, there's going to be bad apples in every circle, man, every seed, man, you know what I mean? It's like I said, man, no matter what crew you are, there's always going to be rats. There's always going to be weak links. But for the most part, man, motherfuckers need to fuck with us, man, because we got talent, man, and then they missing out.
Do you have a specific brand of talent that you kind of follow or push more than another, or explain the hoodie and what that means?
Man, as you see, man, this is, you know, black owned, man, from the hood, man, Roxbury, man, you know what I mean? Listen, man, that's what we do. We support each other, man, you know, whether it was GGL, man, whether it's Honcho, man, whether it's, you know, whether it's anything, Estrada, man, listen, we all stick together, because at the end of the day, man, if we don't put our money back into our own pockets, man, it's just gonna wither away, man. So I'm all about, man, just supporting us, man. Of course, man, I want to look fly in some designer shit every now and then, but at the end of the day, let's rock, man. Let's make moves together. So it doesn't matter whether it's music, man, whether it's art, man, whether it's movies, whether it's clothing. I just want to see everybody win.
And how important is it for everybody to stick together and try to support each other, being that, you know, Boston has under 1 million people? I think it's kind of, like you said, it's tough if we're not sticking together, because the numbers just ain't there. Like,
everybody can't be the dopest rapper alive, man. You know what I mean? You got to pick who's the people's champ, push him through the door. And if he's a real motherfucker, man, he's going to keep that door open, and he's going to extend his hand and push everybody else up. At least give everybody a try, man. You see what I'm saying? You can't help everybody, but, you know, at least shine the light on Boston, man, because, again, man, we're missing out on history. We're like, motherfuckers again, man, the source, man, like was the center of hip hop, man. Motherfuckers treated like it was nothing. You see what I'm saying? It was the center of hip hop. So it's like we have a lot of history, man, and a lot of people did time for this city, man. You know what I mean? Just to stand up and just to be respected. So it's like we have to keep it going, man, you know?
There's a lot of influence out of Boston. We got hospitals, colleges,
Right.
you know, politics to the Kennedys. You know what I mean? Why do you think there's that much influence?
I mean, listen, man, Boston's a city of leaders, man. No bullshit. It's a city of shakers, man, and movers. You know what I mean? And you have to respect them no matter what they're on, man. You know what I mean? Like, from the rise of our city councilors, man, to, you know, the mayors, man, down. It's been a shift and change, man, in Boston politics and just the way we were, you know, raised and governed, you know, coming up. You see what I'm saying? And I feel like, man, it's a lot. It's definitely a better tool for the youth, man. You know what I mean? Especially for them to win, man. It's just about them taking advantage of the shit, man. Leave the guns alone. You know, get up on your entrepreneurship, man. You know what I mean? Come together as a crew, man, to build something, man. You know what I mean? Get the studio, man. Win, man. You know what I mean? I just want them to win. I just don't want them to fall into the traps that we did. What people don't know, man, is that when you go to prison, man, a lot of times, man, we're like 17, 18, 19, 20, going crazy. And by like 21 to 23, you're facing long bids. So once you face that long bid, you usually have more time in prison with your enemies than you do with the homies on the set. A lot of times over like, if you're doing over 10 years, you get to a point where it's like, man, I'm trying to go the fuck home. And it's like, some of the dudes you meet, they might not be as fucking bad as you thought. You tend to fucking like a motherfucker, man, that's like you, man, you know what I mean? And they might be realer than some of the niggas around your way. But just because of the past history of someone else, you automatically hate them. I tell you this, after 10 years, a lot of motherfucking enemies, man, say what up, man, dap up, speak, man, eat together, man, and chill. You see what I'm saying? Because they understand that we was stupid at the time. We wasn't really dealing with reality. You know what I mean? We thought we was playing the game that we knew, man, but we was playing the game that, you know, didn't have no love for us.
Okay, so let's talk about E40. What happens there? What leads up to all of that?
At that time, man, listen, man, that was probably, you know, one of the best awards I had went to, man, you know what I mean? So you gotta think, if I remember, man, that was the one with probably the best performance. I seen them all, man, you know what I mean? So I think it was Puff and Nas, man, for Hate Me Now.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
With Puff is sliding across the stage and all that shit, man. But later on, man, you know what I mean? It just, someone was touching E40's chain, man, you know what I mean? He was with Baby and all them, man. He's touching E40's chain. And motherfuckers it was throwing that, you know, intermission. So everybody just watching, man, and he just kept on touching it, man, you know what I mean? And so motherfuckers just watching. Next thing you know, man, E40 be legit, and I think his sister, man, started stomping dude out, man, you know what I mean? Fuck dude up. As big as those motherfuckers are, man, I'm gonna say their sister, man, had the motherfucking most packed, man. She had her heels off. She was motherfucking nailing them nigga like 10 times in the motherfucking head. And at that time, it was just crazy, man, because I probably see you got Mystical probably in the front jumping on a chair, man, talking about that nigga's getting his ass kicked. And, you know, that's when police kind of sprayed everything, and, you know, the mace came out, so we kind of, me and my boy kind of got dislodged from everybody else. So we knew where the guns were, man. You know, that's where we went first. You know what I mean? No matter what state we was in any story, you can always say, end it with Ace getting the gun, man. You know what I mean? So that's what, you know, that's what we did, man.
Was that just like a precautionary measure? Or was that something that the smoke was like directed towards you guys? Who was touching the guy's chain? Was it somebody with you?
It was someone that was with Baby. I don't think he was with Cash Money and, you know, all the way, man, but, you know, he was touching his chain, and E40 told him once, then he told him twice, the third time, and, you know, that man was underneath his feet, man, you know what I mean? So I mean, listen, it kind of fucked up the Source Awards because it ended the awards.
Oh, okay.
So once it ended the awards, you know what I mean, we wasn't able to continue anymore. So that's why we end up going to Beverly Hills, because we was trying to do a lot of things, man, you know, to make up the time. So I believe me and a couple of my boys was up with Lisa Raye and Fredro Starr. We went to a club in LA to try to do scenes to, like, you know, integrate into the missing time of the Source, man. But it ended up playing the way it came out.
So how close were you to the action there? And
So
what are you thinking?
So I've been to three awards, man. The '99 one in LA, the 2000 in Pasadena, and the one in Miami before I was indicted for murder. So I want to say at that particular one, I was close as shit. Probably like maybe 10 rows from the stage. You know what I mean? So, you know, we was right there, man. You know what I mean? So it was, man, listen, no matter what city we went in, I have to say, man, we had A+ treatment. Everything was over the top. And, you know, it was experience that no one can duplicate. You see what I'm saying?
Do you have a favorite one out of all of those? Was that one your favorite up until that moment?
Pasadena was wild as shit, man. Had the red carpet. Afterwards, all the rappers got robbed. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like that was a great time, man. You know what I mean? And like when Nas and Puff slid across and I'm not, you know what I mean? It's fucked up to say today, but the reason why I said it is because it kind of like symbolized the end of the East Coast, West Coast beef that was going on for so long, man. Like that was the one time everybody was like, okay, I seen West Coast dudes get up and clap. I seen East Coast get, like before the previous one, it was always still, you know, tension and, you know, beef, man, you know what I mean? But yeah, especially in '96.
So what was the vibe in Boston about the whole West Coast, East Coast? Was it Boston's East Coast, or was it that's more LA, New York thing?
I think we was no coast. Historically, not to say that we had beef, but Boston and New York really didn't get along, man, ever, man.
Yeah.
So it's like, no, we wasn't representing, you know what I mean, the majority of y'all beef, man, you know what I mean? So we kind of went our way and did our things, man, no matter where we was, whether it was in the industry or Zeno, or, you know, me traveling dolo, man, because I used to travel a lot by myself. So I never had an issue, man. I always claimed Boston. I never, you know, really entertained the East Coast, West Coast shit, man. So
Other than Boston, do you got another favorite part of the country?
I love DC.
DC? Wow.
DC's just always been fast, man. Like I remember I was on a run in '94 down there, and it was different. You know what I mean? It was really different, man. Like that was the first time, man, I really seen the short hair dude. Everybody had a fat ass, man. You know, at that time they was into rocking silver and gold. Like you never seen nothing like it, man. You know what I mean? And I got introduced to the go-go music, man. I'm like, at first, I'm like, who wants to listen to this shit? It turned out to be one of the best you know, best things I experienced down there. And, you know, again, like, it was just real down there. So, you know, no matter I've been a lot of places, man. I can't say that I met lame dudes anywhere. I met real dudes no matter where you was at. I've been overseas, but I've probably visited St. Thomas more than anything, man. You know what I mean? So I would have to say that's my favorite spot. I'm all about cool vibes, man. You know, like me, man. I have to be appreciative of where I sit today.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people are unfortunate and will never get this chance. You see what I'm saying? So I live day by day, man, of just saying, man, I'm glad to be out here. I'm glad to try to make a difference, man. And all I want to do is, you know, be treated, you know, fairly and not looked at in a negative manner. You know what I mean? A lot of people, man, are still going to keep that, you know, dark cloud over me because of what they think I may have done or who I may have been in the past. And those are people I can't change, man. But for the people that are open-minded, for the people that believe in a second chance, for the people that believe that the people coming out of prison can make a difference, I want to be part of that circle.
Goals and ambitions at the time, where were you trying to go ultimately with that whole movement?
I wasn't a rapper. I was a hustler, man. You know what I mean? So probably one of my boys in the crew rapped with the Wise Guys, but at the time, man, we was, coming in the game. We was probably the first crew that brought, the check game to the game. At least the Boston making checks. So that's what we was into. We was into scamming.
Okay.
So we started scamming probably like 95, 96, and then it just progressed to, okay, now we're fucking making big money. You see what I'm saying? But while everybody else was doing drugs, we was doing our own thing. So we wasn't hanging with Zeno for money or anything. We was just like, listen, we all family, we all tight, and hell yeah, we gonna have a great time together.
And scamming back then was a little different than the scamming that's going on nowadays. What was it, a check thing you guys had going on?
So back then we was into making checks, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So we was into, taking corporation businesses. We was actually, making big money. We wasn't making the little change that dudes was making now. We was really Boston had no, knowledge of what
So you
we
wasn't
was doing.
scamming like grandmothers on the phone and stuff like that?
Nah,
If anything,
we
it's
was
the corporations.
Nah, we was trying. We trying to scam like 40, 50,000 a day.
Right.
So that's what like our collectively as a crew. You see what I'm saying? So we was making big money. So anything could happen, but we were smart with it.
Okay, so you come back from Miami. What's kind of the next thing that happens when you come back?
I mean, shit. The source shit, man, used to be fun and we do that, but we was into the daily activity of violence in the street of Boston. You see what I'm saying? Like me, I was probably never been out more than like 3 to 6 months before I was at least locked up for something. You know what I mean? And so I always had a shooting case or a gun case that they was jamming me up on, but I was getting over.
Yeah.
So I always had paid lawyers.
Okay. Why is that important to have a paid lawyer?
Because, a court appointment is going to sell you out. A court appointment is going to only be as good as you as a lawyer. So they're only going to do what you tell them to do. You know what I mean? And sometimes you have to make them do that because they might think that you're going to win with it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the court game is a give and take. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's a favor game. You got certain people that are going to sell out. You got certain people that are going to defend. You know what I mean? It just depends on, their choosing of the day.
You're a state bid, you did some time. Are you already starting to write?
That's not even a thought of mine. Me, I was always trying to get back out just to get in the game, man, just to have fun, man, make money. And of course, man, at that time, it was like defend our honor. You know what I mean? Yeah. A lot of people be like, that don't understand the gang culture. They'll be like, oh, they're stupid dying over a street corner. You know what I mean? As you see, I rock with the Belnel Road, but I never did anything for a street corner. I did it for the bonds of the boys and the men that I really, rock with. The dudes that had my back and would, defend my honor and kill for me if need be. Yeah. So it's just like with any army, you know what I mean? It's like, listen, we have war with someone else, but we're going to defend our honor and our base. So Belnel was our base, but it wasn't something that we lived and strive for. Like, okay, I'm gonna die over that street corner.
Yeah, it's not the place, it's the people.
Right.
Is the next thing that happens with you as far as trouble with the law, is that murder case?
I was someone who was always, facing 20, 30 years. I had a case in 99 where 3 innocent Caucasians got shot downtown in the financial district of Boston. I had 5 attempted murders on that case. End up getting over on that. You know what I mean? The DA dropped the case. My other man, he only got 3 years for it. So I had a case where, of course, man, the attempted murder at 18. I only got 15 months of that. I had a case where I was facing armed career for a shooting at the Rose Club. I ended up getting that case dropped on a motion. You know what I mean? I was fighting that case and the murder case at the same time, man.
Damn.
You bounce back, you got a moment when they see you down.